He went fairly well last night. A couple of thirds, but always up there with them. In fact, he's on points. Doesn't rate among the first 10 or so at this stage. You may see him make up for that tonight. The hot favourite would have to be the Australian number 1, Tony Grinstead from Ballarat. The purple Camaro going past now. Mark Weaver, number 16 on the roof. 79 is Gavin McEachran, involved in a accident on the Deakin Avenue corner early last night, but come out of it pretty well. In fact, came out of it almost totally unscathed. Danny Amato, he also went fairly well and rates on the leaders board. Danny's from Ballarat. Normie Thorne. Now, Norm didn't race last night in 31. He did come out in the Grand Parade. 25 in front of the broadcast box now. That's the fellow who currently holds the track record. And Gary Drew on the inside is the bloke who got 3 third placings, fairly consistent. Car number 29, that's one of the, that's Darryl Stagg, the Darryl Stagg and John Cook racing team. Neville Eltz in 5, he picked up a placing as well. Michael Clark didn't pick up a placing in 17, which is a little surprising to me. Ron Bergmeyer, he didn't have a bad night last night either. Some of these cars seem to suddenly hit their straps in a particular heat and away they go. And Bergmeyer had a couple of those such heats. The partner to the car going past just a moment ago, 72, Mick Burgess from over the Waikerie area. Drivers in this heat basically from Ballarat and Bendigo, with Greg Wilkins from Broken Hill. Drivers in the title, I think, cover something like 14 or 15 different clubs, which is a fairly good representation. They've decided that it's clear enough for them to run, and that's just what they will do. Remember, 7 of the 9 heats last night, the fastest lap was quicker than the previous lap record. Well, what a start by Rodder. He was way out in front. John Rodder is certainly going to take a little bit of tossing from that far out. In second place, it's Wilkins in 55, and then Mark Weaver in third. 29 a little further back is Stagg. The numbers on the side are easy to read than the roof numbers from here. And Cook right behind him, and then that last car there is Stephen Ludwig. But look at John Rodder. I think once this fellow gets out in front in the Firebird, he's pretty hard to catch. Wilkins from Broken Hill doing pretty well at this stage to hold down second place from Mark Weaver. Then it's Stagg. Then we've got Danny Amato, who's been held back in the field there a fair bit from Cook. Oh, and a little bit of trouble with Weaver. That allows Stagg, it is, to go past in 29. I don't know if the track's a bit slippy or he's having a little bit of trouble handling it, but he fishtailed a fair bit as he went past then. Weaver moves out of that little group, still in third place. John Rodder, look at him go there in 46. Way out in front, a good lead. Wilkins also starting to lay a claim at second place. And a warning flag, I think it was then, to perhaps Mark Weaver. It's just a little bit hard for me to tell who's getting the flags. Stagg still in third place. Weaver's taken the paint off the fence on the other side. That allowed Danny Amato from Ballarat to come through. Weaver's dropped back through the field a fair bit, and Cook now into, well, not quite in last place. In last place, in fact, we have Stephen Ludwig, and he's a long way behind the field. So far behind that John Rodder is about to catch up to him if we go much longer. Wilkins starting well, as he did last night for Broken Hill. I think he took out a third place in the first heat last night. Is heading the right way for a second place, but he's got Stagg right on his tail. Amato's going to try and put the pressure on Stagg and see if he can pick up a few more points as Rodder passes the tail ender. John Rodder, a good half a lap at least in front of the other vehicles, and now there's some pressure being put on Wilkins for that second place. Stagg right behind him. Danny Amato just a little further back. How much longer have they got to go? 1.5. 1 lap left for Rodder as he goes past now. Well, there's no problem with Rodder, and that was Mark Weaver whipping through under Danny Amato on the other side. The second place car is still this one from Broken Hill. So Greg Wilkins, but Stagg is putting a lot of pressure on him. One little slip by Wilkins and Stagg will go through. Rodder coming out of the Deakin Avenue corner for the checkered flag for the first time tonight in the title. And that was a great win for John Rodder to get himself a good start for tonight's racing. This car, of course, is the tail end of 31 of Ludwig. And it's Wilkins who's held on all the way to come in second from Stagg, Weaver, and Danny Amato, then Cook in that order. West. And then toss in Michael Clark and Stewart and McEachran. That's not a bad lineup of cars for this particular heat. The current track record holder is that car number 25 of Adam Pendix. Boxed in the middle there for the start. Lionel Reeves had a couple of fantastic runs last night as well. McEachran has got a good start out in front. We'll see how he goes from there. Nicholas and Howland, of course, not starters. And McEachran trying to get away on the outside, but it's Michael Clark who did get the good start. Timberlake on the inside is going to come out of that corner in second place. Adam Fendick doing fairly well. Lionel West shot through on the other two. Peter Drew got into a little bit of trouble, and Peter Reeves in the RX-7, the Victorian number 1, a fair way backwards. Clark, Timberlake, McEachran, Fendick, Stewart, and we're going to see some good racing in this heat. As I said, as Timberlake goes through in 13, underneath that leading car of Michael Clark. Clark yet to take out a first, second or third. Timberlake, one of the favourites before the meeting started, comes out of the Deacon Avenue corner, and Clark's not going to let him have it all his way. And McEachran from Mount Gambier, I think it is, back there in third place. Adam Fendick right on their tail, and they're not giving each other an inch as they go around there. And a battle going on a little bit at the rear of the field as Peter Drew at 90 shot through under Lionel West. Then Lionel West likewise on the outside. Cars crossing the track everywhere as they come out of the Deacon Avenue corner. And still Peter Timberlake, McEachran, Michael Clark, Fendick. They're not changing. Another battle going on back here, still between the two red cars there of Peter Drew and Lionel West. And that current Victorian number 1, Peter Reeves, right at the rear of the field. Well, that's an unusual spot to be seeing him. The leading car there of Peter Timberlake opening up a great lead. I don't think he'll get crossed. McEachran at his best race yet. Look at Fendick going through underneath that car there of Michael Clark. Fendick got the nose in front, hit a bit of a bump there. Fendick still in 4th place. Stewart behind. Look at Peter Drew in 90, trying to pick up a few points. Lionel West on the outside. The flames belching out the back of the RX-7 of Peter Reeves. And Fendick is going to tip that car over if he keeps up in this race. He's really trying hard on the inside to pick up another placing, and the front wheel lifts up again. Look at Fendick going 25. As you can tell, he's my favourite here tonight. I reckon he's going to pick up a couple of placings before this race finishes. And he dives through. Just had to brake a little bit as he came out of the corner. Can he catch up on Michael Clark? Around the outside. Still can't do it. Fendick has lost a little bit of ground now. The leading cars have got it pretty well sewn up for first and second. The interest is in this batch of cars back there. Another attack on Michael Clark. Oh, look at that front wheel lifted Fendick's car. Right behind him is Stewart. 1 lap left to go. Then it's Peter Drew, Lionel West from Bendigo. Peter Reeves at the rear of the field, and West and Drew still having a battle. Well, the leading two cars are going to come across the way they've raced for most of this particular heat with Peter Timberlake. McEachran was his best race, and they're still trying back here, but it's Michael Clark, Adam Fendick, Steve Stewart, Peter Drew, and Reeves, I think, just avoided taking out a last place as he came through under Lionel West of Bendigo, the Victorian number 2 car there. Well, I did say that that would be a fairly hectic sort of a race, and boy, are some of those fellows trying pretty hard. Well, I haven't seen anybody lift the front wheel quite so consistently as Fendick was during that heat. Michael Clark, a great effort there to keep Fendick behind him. Timberlake, second was 79, Gavin McEachran. Then 77 was Michael Clark. And we've still got the orange light on, so I've got a second or two up my sleeve. The fastest lap in that race was 17.37 by Peter Timberlake at the head of the field. Righto, who do we have in this heat? It's heat number 12. We should have Graham Cowland up there, yes. Gary Drew, so far 3 heats, 3 third placings. Ron Dalton in number 4. Peter Logue, who's been going fairly well. In your program it says Rod Nash in car number 12, but it's Philip Paul. Neville Alts in the Capri. Ron Bergmeyer, Harold Brennan, and Tony Grinstead, the Australian number 1, at the rear of the field. And this time we're going to get a start, and Cowland, he got hustled out a little bit there in 19. That's Gary Drew took the lead. Cowland still in second place, and look at the bunch of cars going through. That's Philip Paul, I can see there. Harold Brennan having trouble at the rear of the field. Round the outside, it looks a bit like Peter Logue's car to me from here. It looks like we're not going to accept that start. you tell you as they come around the Deacon Avenue corner and the green light's on, and this time it's Cowland who holds himself out in front. Oh, a big bang there as 3 or 4 of the cars nudged each other as they went across the start line. Well, it's Cowland in 42 and the Holden's done fairly well. Ron Dalton on the inside there. Who was that on the other side? Gary Drew, is it, that got into second place? Tony Grinstead been locked up behind Harold Brennan. Harold had a lot of trouble there. Cowland still well out in front from Peter Drew. Peter Lowe back there in 4th place. It's Ron Dalton, of course, in 3rd. Philip Paul, Neville Eltz. 5 will be Bergmeyer and Tony Grinstead right at the rear of that bunch. Well, Tony Grinstead's got a lot of driving to do to catch up to these fellows. 242, Cowland didn't take out a major placing last night, but he's certainly in the box seat to do it tonight. Except that that's Avalon 19 there trying to go through underneath is Gary Drew. He got the nose in front. Oh, no, he came back down to Graham Cowland and still hanging on to the lead. Well, that wasn't a bad bit of driving. And he's really got that whole building around the track now. He wants to hang on to this first place. He hasn't been out there very much for this weekend. Gary Drew in 2nd place. It's Ron Dalton back in 3rd. Peter Lowe. Then it's Philip Paul. And there goes Tony Grinstead picking up a couple of places now as he dives past Ron Bergmeyer and Neville Eltz a little behind him. But he's got a long way to go after getting through those slower cars. It's Tony Grinstead, the Australian number 1 from Ballarat. He certainly wasn't going to sit at the rear of the field for very long, but Cowland doing it very well out in front. The Avalon driver there, Gary Drew, put the foot down. He closes the gap coming into the corner, but he can't make up that gap. Ron Dalton, then Peter Lowe, Philip Paul, Tony Grinstead closing up on them. 35, Ron Bergmeyer, Neville Eltz, and the local boy, Harold Brennan, bringing up the tail end of the field. We've got a couple of separate races going here, and Tony Grinstead frantically trying to close that gap, and he does as he comes into the corner, but a little bit too harsh into the corner. Cowland's track is opening up a bigger lead. As I said before, one of the drivers not taking out a major placing last night as the 1st, 2nd or 3rd. He certainly is going to change that here tonight. And the 2nd night of the heats of the Victorian title. 1 and a bit laps left to go for Cowland. Can he hang on? And can Gary Drew do a little bit better than his 3rd places last night? Is he going to come out with a 2nd? Ron Dalton, Peter Lowe, Philip Paul, Tony Grinstead is going like hell behind those cars to try and pick up a placing. I think he's going to run out of laps. He'll pick up another one with Philip Paul. No, he won't. Let's take a look at the leading car. Grinstead round the outside. No, he's gone too wide again. It's a desperate effort. Graham Cowland has taken out the placing, first placing with Gary Drew. And I think Ron Dalton hung on there for 3rd. Peter Lowe, then Paul. And I don't think Tony Grinstead picked up another placing. Neville Eltz and Harold Brennan at the rear of the field. Well, I don't know when I've ever seen a more even field of cars for a major championships than what we've got here tonight. When you've got that Holden there of Cowland, didn't take out a 1st, 2nd or 3rd last night, and he won that race like a champion. And he's got some champions that followed him up. Gary Drew, 3 3rd places last night, put the pressure on. Peter Lowe, Dalton, Tony Grinstead, the Australian number 1. There's some pretty good cars following up behind him then. We'll just wait a second till we get the official placings for you, then we'll have a track maintenance to keep that track in tip-top shape as we're used to here at Mildura. Cowland from Murray Bridge in 1st place. 2nd, and it's a step up. This fellow's doing pretty well with 3 3rds last night. Gary Drew from Avalon, number 19. 3rd place was number 4, Ron Dalton from the Yarra Valley. The fastest lap by car 42 was 17.80. Not quite as quick as some that we've had, but that's not too bad. Super Sedans out there, this time with Peter Timberlake on pole position. In a VN Commodore, Gary Cook beside him, also in a VN. Steve Stewart in the Trans Am. Adam Fendick back out there again already. Darryl Stagg, I just had to check my cars to make certain I did have the right heat. Gavin McEachran, Peter Logue, Mark Weaver and Peter Drew in the South Australian 90. Righto, one more lap before they get underway, and I have no reason to suspect this won't be every bit as interesting a heat as all those previous ones that we've seen. We've got some pretty quick cars at the rear of the field with Weaver and Drew. McEachran towards the back, who came 2nd, I think, in the previous heat that he ran. Fendick in the middle. The green flag is up. They'll come through the Deacon Avenue corner and should take a start. And watch Timberlake go. I think Timberlake will get the good start. He's way out in front, and then Cook right on his hammer. It's Stewart on the inside in 2nd place, then Cook. Oh, a couple of bumps with the tail. Oh, and over the top, bang, smack. I'm not sure what happened then. I think Cook was it who was involved in that. And I think that might be Fendick. Well, I hope not, but I think that's Adam Fendick up there. Let's hope they can straighten that car out. As I said, they can drop their worst heat, but that's no good if they can't get back on there again. Car 29, in fact, was that Stag that may have been involved there. Which I thought it would be. It's a complete restart, and maybe the drivers don't realise that. So they will go back into their positions that they originally started. The only alteration, of course, being that Adam Fendick won't be in the middle of them. Righto, now that Cook has moved over onto the outside of the pole position, that makes a lot more sense. And that was all the drivers needed, I think, to be told that it was a complete restart, and they've now sorted themselves out. Timberlake has got himself out to a good start, and two cars left in front before they came across the start line. And as Timberlake into the pit corner, one car was at Logue, not sure who it was, had a bit of trouble back there, possibly Peter Drew. No, Drew up on the outside. 6 Mark Weaver it was, in fact, who got into strife there, but Timberlake doing it fairly well from Steve Stewart. Then it's McKeckerin, Stag, Peter Logue a little further back. But once again, we've got one car headed out there in front and making good ground. It's Peter Timberlake. Steve Stewart in second place. A battle going on between the second and third car. We've got Cook on the inside in second place. McKeckerin, who had a great race just a little while ago, doing the outside of the track all the way around. Peter Logue then on the inside, and Logue moved up inside McKeckerin to take that position. McKeckerin getting out just a little bit too high. Then we've got Peter Drew a little further back from Stag, and Mark Weaver at the rear of the field. We've got a battle going on between 28 and 6. That's Peter Logue, and Logue's getting all sorts of trouble on the inside line of the track there. As Cook is it in third place still. Then Peter Drew goes through underneath McKeckerin from Mount Gambier. But the leading car of Peter Timberlake way out in front, doing it fairly comfortably from Steve Stewart. It's Cook still in third place, and a bustle of cars there behind him, all waiting to jump on him. And as soon as he makes a little bit of a slip, it's Peter Logue, the next car back, then Peter Drew. McKeckerin with a lot of backfiring flames coming out between the back wheels there. And a real battle now as Logue goes around the outside and picked up Cook. Logue through the pit corner. Is he going to come down without any problem? Yes, Logue moved up now into second place with Cook. Then it's Peter Drew who's trying to take Cook through the Deacon Avenue corner. We've still got a battle with these tail enders. McKeckerin wants to go around the outside of Peter Drew and Cook. Peter Drew taking a fairly tight corner, then going through the pit corner, but way out in front without any problems at all. It's Peter Timberlake comes along. Timberlake in the VN. Then it's 47. It's Steve Stewart from South Australia. Number 6, Peter Logue from Nyora. Then it's Cook. Then it's Peter Drew. McKeckerin still driving around the outside of the track, trying to pick up positions, but he's going very, very wide, and in fact loses ground on the outside. Timberlake almost brought up to a stop across the line with Steve Stewart in second place. Third place was Peter Logue, the Nyora driver, and we've lost one down there at Stag. Cook takes next place from Peter Drew, and McKeckerin shot across the line almost sideways. Mark Weaver, and who did I say it was? Stag down there in the cloud of dust, who did not quite make the finish line. I think they're holding the flag up for him in case he wants to drive across. Maybe the car won't start. cars lined up out there for heat 14. Tony Grinstead on pole position. He's going to be a little bit hard to toss. Gavin McKenzie has had to pull out through engine trouble. Greg Wilkinson, Broken Hill. And Philip Paul. Do we have Harold Brennan back there again? Steve Ludwig. Gary Drew. And we've had another lap record broken once again, but these fellows are on the way, so we'll worry about that later. Tony Grinstead, of course, got that good start, and Philip Paul right behind him in second place. Who was it in third place going around there? I missed a couple of those as they went through. Harold Brennan a little further back by the look of it, or is it him there? That's Harold Brennan, in fact, in third place, doing it fairly well. Then we've got Wilkins, then Drew, then Clark, then Ludwig a little further back. Now let's see if Harold Brennan can show the visitors that he can drive this super sedan round the Mildura track, and boy, he's certainly having a go back there in third place. And he's lost it. Harold can load a fool off you again. It's Tony Grinstead still out there in first place. Somebody else off too, that was Wilkins, and the yellow light is on. Well, Harold got back on the track pretty quick. Let's have a look at what happens here. That's Wilkins who's off the track up there now. Tony Grinstead got a great start. Philip Paul in car number 12, right on his hammer. The official placings of the previous heat were car 13, Peter Timberlake, 47, Stephen Stewart, and car number 6, that's the Iora car of Peter Logue. The lap time, as we said, was a new lap record yet again, 17.20 by car number 13, Peter Timberlake. They're racing, the green light goes on, and look at Grinstead go out there, and Harold Brennan is really going to try and catch these fellas. The Broken Hill driver just a little further behind him. Let's see how well Harold handles the corner this time. Grinstead knows how to go around there. Philip Paul in second place, Harold Brennan, Greg Wilkins, a bit of a passing manoeuvre going into the Deacon Avenue corner between about the 5th and 6th cars. And we'll pick up those cars. One of those is Michael Clark and Gary Drew. Well, he's the driver, I think, who's picked up a placing in every heat he's been out there in, but he's a long way back at the moment. There's no way he'll catch Grinstead and Paul, and maybe even Brennan, the way Harold's going. Well, he's really throwing it into the Deacon Avenue corner as Harold Brennan. A couple of pairs of cars coming out of the Deacon Avenue corner now, and it's Greg Wilkins. Three come through together. It's the Avalon car 19 of Gary Drew who came out in front of those two. Ludwig has not really been on the pace all weekend, and is a long way back. He will probably be lapped before this race finishes. But look at the pressure that Philip Paul is putting on Tony Grinstead. That's the Australian champion in first place, and Philip Paul, a driver I hadn't heard of until yesterday when he turned up here in Rod Nash's car, is out there pushing him for all he is worth. Harold Brennan has lost a little on those leading cars, but certainly lost nothing on the cars behind him. Let's keep an eye on Philip Paul in car number 12 and see what sort of pressure he can put on Tony Grinstead. Tony Grinstead, the Australian number 1. He's won almost every meeting that he's raced at here at Mildura in the past, and I don't see much reason why this one will be any different. Philip Paul is trying to pick up a few points by taking this first place off him. He's got the car level on the inside. Out of the corner, it's Grinstead with a little bit more power. They're going to have to pass this slower car shortly. Let's see if that causes any problems. Grinstead will be past. They will both fly past before the corner. A little over 1 lap left to go. Grinstead allows Paul to catch up coming out of the Deacon Avenue corner, but he can't do much more than that. Getting the front level with the back of Grinstead's cars about as well as he can go. Harold Brennan, his best race for the weekend, is hanging on to third place. Greg Wilkins from Broken Hill, then Gary Drew, Ron Dalton, and Michael Clark in a bunch of cars in that order. Well, look at these leading cars coming across now. It's Tony Grinstead and half a car from Philip Paul, and that would be Paul's best race. Harold Brennan a little bit of trouble, but he will take out third place. Well under the local driver. Then it's Greg Wilkins back there a little further. Gary Drew, Ron Dalton, and Michael Clark in that order. Well, I would think Philip Paul would come out of that heat pretty pleased with himself. That's about the most pressure that anybody has put on Tony Grinstead once he's got out in front. And who knows, maybe with a couple more laps, he may just have been able to take that one out. Car number 11, second was car number 12, Philip Paul, third was car number 69, Harold Brennan. Once again, the lap record wasn't broken but equalled, in fact, by 2 cars, by 11 and 12, Grinstead and Paul, and I thought they were travelling pretty quickly. So that's 3 drivers now on that equal 17.20. A small heat this time because we've got a few of those cars, Reichstein, Howlett, Nicholas and Ellis, who didn't turn up, and Lilly, who's also bailed out. So only 4 cars with Neville Ellis. On the outside, it's Peter Reeves. Bergmeyer in there somewhere as well. In fact, I don't think Bergmeyer is. Pick them up again as they go past. John Rodder is definitely there, and Amato. So we've got Reeves, Ells, Amato and Rodder are the 4 cars down there. So Bergmeyer out of this heat, as is West. By far the smallest that we've had. We've run at least 8 to 10 cars in every heat so far. Well, it's been unusual to see John Rodder that far back, but that is the Victorian number 1 out there in front, with Neville Elst in second place. John Rodder back there behind Amato, in fact going through underneath Danny Amato now to try and take out third place. These fellows won't be too displeased with this heat because they will all pick up fairly high points, even the car that comes in last. Peter Reeves, Victoria number 1 in the RX-7. He's well clear, but the other 3 fellows having a fair battle. The Capri in second place, and Amato right on his tail, waiting for Elst to make a bit of a move to the outside of the track. He's not going to wait any longer. Danny Amato from Ballarat is going to try and go around the outside, and Rodder slipped through underneath Amato through the Deacon Avenue corner. Will he pick up that placing? Yes, it's John Rodder in 46. Moves into third place behind Neville Elst, but there's a big gap between those cars and the leading RX-7 out there, the Victorian number 1 of Peter Reeves. Still a battle going on between second, third and fourth in this particular race. There might be many cars in it, but they're having a battle royal as John Rodder puts the nose right up into the tail of Neville Elst. Danny Amato trying to go around the outside, doesn't like running last, and he's going to take it down the outside through the pit corner. He'll pick them both up on one massive burst of speed around the pit corner down the far side straight. Amato rounded up the pair of them, so he's now up in second place. And then it's Neville Elst and John Rodder, who won the last heat he raced in very, very comfortably. Surprisingly now at the other end of the field, running last in this particular heat. The leading car, Peter Reeves, with 1 and a bit laps left to go. In fact, opening up a bigger lead while those cars are battling it out between themselves. Danny Amato in second place, Neville Elst and John Rodder in that order. And I don't think Rodder's given up that he's going to come in last of all as yet. He's got a bit over half a lap to go, and he will certainly try and go around the outside of the Capri, right up high in the track. He may try to dive underneath. It's Peter Reeves in first place, Danny Amato, and I think they're going to stay that way. Neville Elst and John Rodder in last place.
Gutsy drive then by Danny Amato to an outside pass on the field. There may have only been 4 cars in the field, but there was a great drive by Danny. And in the beginning of the last round of heats there, where Adam Fendike came off, he has a bent spring on the rear and front end damage. We hope to have it finished fit and fixed for the final.
Right, yeah, well, good. This is the time that we've all waited for, the 20 of the quickest super sedans over the weekend. Tony Grinstead down there with the number 11 on the roof, and take notice of the Australian number 1 on the side of the car. That's the one that matters. He's going to start here with pole position. As you...
He's come a long way compared to the event. I think everybody's seen great racing for the last couple of nights. And Tony Winter here who's starting on pole. He's done a great job during the week. And I've got supporters out there. Here you can, Tony.
I'll tell you about that now. Just pull the car if we can. Whoever gets the brakes at the right time. You know, you can go back to the last car. They're all on the same pace, so I'm glad I'm up the front.
All that in Tony, and we'll see him shortly. Out of number 2, we have Coach Tim Long. First year in his car, I think he's done an excellent job. How do you feel, Peter?
I'm reasonably confident, Al. We've certainly been, well, not so much chasing our tar, but working our butt off with the car. Since we've bought it, we've run the Tri-City and so forth, and every meeting it's needed something different doing to it or adjusting to it. And last night I consider it been one of the worst nights I've ever had, but we rallied tonight and had a couple of wins, and now we're up the front, and we've got the setup I was looking for, so we're reasonably confident.
Well, all the best, Peter, and we'll see you in a half an hour or so.
Good luck,
Appreciate it.
How further along you get, man? You've been up here putting on a good show for years in other classes. How do you think you'll feel, Peter?
Oh, we'll just hang in and see how we go. We've had a good weekend, just safe we have a good race.
Well, all the best, Peter. And
Peter, I won't be long.
Yeah, righto. Hope the feature don't take this long. You want a hand? Just give me a lot of them.
the first year we're driving now, we'll move on to John Roller. All right. Yeah, this is more John. Good weekend, all those. And you'll see.
Thanks, Alan. I'm hopeful. I'm starting not too far from the front, so if I can get a break, you never know.
All the best, John. Gary Drew, strong, position 5. You've had a good weekend also, Gary. Starting up that close to the front, you must be feeling fairly confident.
Yeah, well, not overconfident, but I'd like to just have a top 6 finish. It'd be nice. There's a lot of fast cars here, and I think it has. Tony said it's open to any of them, I think. But as long as we're there at the finish, we'll be happy.
Well, all the best, Gary.
Thanks, Al.
Good luck, Gary.
Thank you very much.
You do well.
Thank you.
Out of position 6, we have the defending champion, Peter Reed. Got a couple of fans on the hill there, Peter. How are you feeling?
Oh, not too bad. We've qualified in the front half of the field, and we're pretty happy with that. And we expect to struggle a bit earlier in the early laps, but towards the end of the race, when the track drives out, this little car with a small amount of horsepower compared to the others, hopes that we should come on strong.
Well, all the best, Peter, and hope you can defend your championship.
Good luck, Peter. You do well.
Right, out of position 8, we have one of South Australians and Stevie Stewart. Had a good weekend, Steve?
Yeah, so far it's been very good.
How do you think you'll go in the Victorian Championship?
I'd like to just finish a little bit better than where I'm starting. I think the action will be up the front.
So you'll be in a good spot to see it then. All the best, Steve.
Thanks, Alan.
Good luck, Steve.
Thanks very much.
Now, position 10, we have Mark Weber, who's making a comeback this season and making his presence felt in Super Sedan ranks. How do you feel, Mark? How do you think you'll go?
Oh, always nervous at the start of a big race. I think it'll be all right. We'll have to wait and see, mate.
Well, all the best, then, Mark. And
Thank you, Al.
All the best, Mark.
Thanks,
Have
Gary.
now, position 7, we have another member in Danny Amata. How do you feel, Danny? You've put in a couple of really good heats. And how do you feel for the final?
Well, I feel pretty good. But I'd like to thank 3 people that helped me all through the couple of nights, and that's Julie, Greg and Leon. Thanks.
All the best, then, Danny.
Good luck, Danny.
Out of position 12, we have Victoria 2 in Lionel West. Starting back a bit tonight, Lionel, compared to last year. How do you think we'll go tonight?
We'll hang in there and keep it going. We should finish.
Hopefully. All the best, then, Lionel.
Thank you.
All the best, Lionel. Hope you do well.
Thank you.
Now 14, another South Australian, Peter Drew, come across for the weekend, Peter. How do you think you'll go in the final?
Well, we don't have a real lot of confidence on this sort of surface because we race on clay, but just have to see how price we can get.
You're knocking our surface over you like that sticky shit, do you?
Yeah, mate.
All the best, anyway.
All the best.
Good on you.
Out of the 16, we had a little Greek fortune, driven by Neville Ellis. Had a couple of really good seconds during the course of the heats, Neville. How do you think you'll go now?
All we hope to do is just hang in there and finish.
All the best, Neville. So we're going to have a lot of cars hanging in there at the end.
All the best, Neville. Hope you do well.
Thank you.
Out of the 13, we had Philip Paul, first time in the car this weekend. I think he's made his presence felt really well. How are you feeling now?
I'd like to be in the front like the rest of them, but back here off road and others, and hope to be better help.
All the best, then, Phil.
Good luck, Philip. Hope you do well.
Out of Division 18, we had a lone Managarian entrant in Gavin McCaffrey. Had a pretty rough sort of weekend, Gavin.
Yeah, it has been, Alan. We've had a fair few problems. The last night was a rather disastrous night, so we're out on the back of the grid and hopefully we can be there somewhere in the finish.
All the best, Gavin.
Thanks, Alan.
All the best, Gavin.
Thank you.
Out of 15, we have John Dalton from Melbourne, travel up to the event. Thought the Super Sedans fairly well. Haven't fared very well this weekend, but how do you think you'll go?
I'd just like to be there at the finish. As long as the car finishes at 35 laps, I'll be happy. So I hope I'm at the front there somewhere at the end.
All the best, Ron.
Thank you.
Coming right? No, not.
We have Nick Clark from Ballarat. You've got two supporters on the hill. Had a good weekend, Mick, or not?
Yeah, it's quite a good weekend. We come up just to make the final and we've done that, so hopefully we'll finish it.
All the best then, Mick. See you at the end when you finish.
All the best, Nick.
We've got a stranger up here starting out of Division 9. Adam Fendyke. He's had a fairly good weekend, starting out of 9. Good to see you up near the front again.
Yes, Alan, we're pretty pleased to be up there in the front. We're probably not here to win anything tonight, we're just here to finish, and if we do well along the way, well, it's even better. Just hoping for a good night.
Good luck, Adam.
All the best, Adam.
Thank you.
At position 11, we have Greg Wilson from Broken Hill. He performed fairly well over the weekend down on our track here in Mildura. How do you feel for the final?
If I can just finish and roll on the trailer undamaged, I'll be very happy.
All the best, then, Greg.
All the best, Greg.
Out of position 19, we have another Ballarat car in Gary Cook. First year back in after a long spell, and I think he's just starting to come to grips with this car. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm feeling very good. As you say, this is a new car and I'm like a new driver, but we're getting the hang of it and I'm just more than happy to make the final.
All the best, Gary. And we have the lone local up here in Harold Brennan.
Give it to the boys.
Just got in by someone else's misfortune, they tell me, Harold.
Yeah, something like that. Suppose we've got to be in it to win it, so a long way from the back. Give it our best shot in the first 10 laps.
All the best, Harold. What you doing in the 10 laps?
Good luck, Harold.
Impressive range of Super Sedans out there to race 35 laps to see who takes out the Victorian number 1 for 1992. Chief Steward for the Super Sedan title, of course, is Dennis Cottrell down there giving some of the drivers a last-minute chat. Let's hope that Dennis doesn't need to go down and have a chat to any others during the proceedings of the final. Gentlemen, would you please start your engines? See the River Queen houseboat ute down there giving one of them a hand, and very, very well prepared if anybody else doesn't quite fire up. And we've also got the tractor. Somebody else may be having a little bit of a problem starting. Most cars able to start under their own steam. We've got cars from all over the place here, from Ballarat, Geelong, Nyora, South Australia, Adelaide mainly, Corowa, Broken Hill, Mount Gambier, Horsham, and of course Mildura. So that's a fair representation out of, I think there's probably about 18 cars. I think there may be a couple that haven't appeared for the final. One was Darryl Stagg, and I think Ludwig may not be there. Graham Crick, could you come up to the box, please? Graham Crick, up to the officials' box. There are 20 in the final, just checking. I did have 22 names down there for a start, and Harold Brennan, of course, has moved into the final because Darryl Stagg was a withdrawal, and Steve Ludwig remains the first emergency. The green flag is ready. We should almost be ready for a start in the Victorian Super Sedan Championship Final for 1992. It looks like one more lap. Tony Grinstead, obviously the favourite. Peter Timberlake from Geelong is not going to give him an inch at the start, followed by Logan Rodder. Then we've got Drew and Reeves. Out of those 6 cars, we've got 6 very, very quick cars. And then a little further behind, we've got Amato, Stewart, Fendick, Weaver. You try and pick a winner. You would probably go for one of the leaders out there solely because they're out the front. They don't have to get through the field, but it's a long race. It's 35 laps. They are going to have to pass slower cars, which seems ridiculous saying there's going to be slower cars. But there will be. Look at them come out of that corner for a start. That is Tony Grinstead who got the good start. Was that Peter Lowe? Right on, oh, it's Timberlake right on his tail. Peter Lowe a little further back. Rodder has gone out wide. Another car shooting up the inside of Rodder. Could be Amato. He's certainly one of those two there. The first couple of laps will take a little bit of sorting out, but it's Tony Grinstead for Ballarat. Peter Timberlake slow through, and that's Adam Fendick, my favourite driver. He's out there already in about 5th place. Fendick doing fairly well. They've left a field of cars behind him at those leaders. Some of the tail end are going to have a fair sort of a problem getting through the field to get up there and challenge them. Oh, cars going all over the place there. They're taking over his corner. It's Grinstead from Timberlake and Lowe. Adam Fendick goes up the inside of Gary True from Avalon. He's picked up 4th place as Fendick. And this is the sort of driving we expect from Adam Fendick. He's now in 4th place, chasing the first 3 cars into the Deacon Avenue corner. And look at this, passing manoeuvre of Timberlake on the inside of Tony Grinstead. Timberlake early in the race has taken over the lead, going through the pit corner. He's relegated. Tony Grinstead, the Australian number 1, and Grinstead goes back underneath down the far side. It's Grinstead back in front. I think we're going to see racing like this for the next 32 or 33 laps. Tony Grinstead is back in the lead with Timberlake from Geelong, his tail, Peter Lowe, Adam Fendick, then Gary Drew, Danny Amato back there, Steve Stewart, John Rodder. I won't worry too much about the others because the leaders are putting on such a fantastic race for us. in the final of the Victorian Super Sedan Championships. I think Timberlake's going to have another go coming out of the Deacon Avenue corner. He's got the nose in front, and I'll bet the Chief Steward's watching all this action pretty closely. It's Tony Grinstead from Ballarat. He's got that link back again, and he's going to hang on to it. Timberlake, he cannot shake. He's got one car separating the two of them at the moment, with Peter Logue right behind. Fendick is now right up on their tail, and watch this Fendick. If there's an opening, and we've lost one, then we've lost two. Are we going to get any damage of the cars back off? There will be a restart, I think, here. Well, that'll catch a few of the tail enders up. Gary Drew was one of the ones that went out then. And we've got Peter Drew, and somebody there in trouble. That was Amato. What happened then? Thump, thump, thump into the side of Wilkins. Well, it was Greg Wilkins who said that he would like to be able to drive his car onto the trailer to take it home. That might have been a couple of little pieces, but I think he's still going. I don't know what happened to Danny Amato, the Ballarat car there. Harold Brennan, I think he was a fair way behind and out of that. There goes Stewart, Grinstead, Timberlake, Peter Logue. Now we'll catch up with who's who. Adam Fendick certainly got that car sorted out after his problems earlier in the night. Gary Drew, John Rodder, Philip Paul, Peter Ruzevich won, Peter Drew, Mark Weaver, Lionel West, Ron Dalton, Clark, Michael Clark in 17 there, Gary Cook, the Broken Hill driver, Greg Wilkins, and from Horsham, Neville Elks. 79 from Mount Gambier, Gavin McEachran, and from Mildura, Harold Brennan. And it looks like we might have lost the Ballarat driver, Danny Amato. Well, he bounced horribly when he pulled up down there. One down. Danny Amato was one of the drivers. Well, they're all in there with a chance, but I think Danny had a better chance than a lot of them. Take them a lap or so to bunch up. Remember, these fellows are driving for the privilege of putting Victoria #1 on the side of their car, just like Peter Reeves has at the moment. And I guess Tony Grinstead would love the chance to have Victoria 1 and Australia 1 on his car at the same time. I think he won the Indianapolis Stakes for Super Sedans last year over the three-way meeting. Run at Ballarat, Bendigo and Mildura. Total prize money for this event, they tell me, is $5,000. And Tom Klein over on the hill, on the pole, will be getting all the action. Grinstead got a good start from Timberlake this time on Logue. And boy, have these cars picked up some pace. And there goes Timberlake through the inside. And boy, they're not begging any pardons there. A little bit more power by Tony Grinstead into the Deacon Avenue corner, leaves Timberlake a car length behind him, but gee, this Timberlake is certainly a goer, and Peter Logue and Fendick are right up there in the tail. Gary Drew's still there in 5th place, and there's nothing separating these cars. Timberlake will have another go on Grinstead as they go down the straight. Tony Grinstead seems to attack that corner a little bit quicker. Who did we lose down there? Harold Brennan, by the look of it. Harold's having a bit of a problem with that corner tonight. Watching the leaders, I didn't even pick that one up until the lights came on. Sending Harold to the rear of the field. Well, I thought that's where he was. I don't know if he'd made up any position since the race started. Harold spun out in that same corner a little earlier in the night. Well, that line of cars covers almost an entire half a lap, and watch these fellas try and make up the gaps for the start again. The green light's on. Once again, it's Timberlake, Logue, and Adam Fendick's lost part of the car that's held it out there towards the fence. Luckily, it's right out on the outside, and we've got a bingo at the Deacon Avenue corner. We're not getting very far here at all. I can't pick which cars it is. That could be Steve Stewart's car down there, one of them. 47, was it? That will be Stewart, yes. The only car that colour. The other one, I'm not sure who it was. Last man standing. Some of the Australian Championships start with 20 and end up with 5 or 6. Once again, it's Grinstead in the Camaro with a great start into the pit corner. And Timberlake right on his tail, as before. Where's Fendick? He's back just a little bit behind Logue, about a car or two lengths separating. And we've lost another one down there on the pit corner. He can get himself off the track. Yellow lights on, and who was it this time? Well, only 6 laps completed, 30 still to go. Righto, and the flag should go and the lights on it. Grinstead once again, a great start. Now look at those cars belt out of that Deacon Avenue corner in Indian Smile. We'll start to see some passing manoeuvres shortly. They're not pulling any punches. Fendick about to be passed by Stewart. No, he's dived back on the inside, and we've lost him again at the pit corner. And I think it could be the same too. I think it's Harold and, yes, they're going to call it a day. Harold's going to call it a day, and Wilkins again. Right at the tail end of the field, the same corner. That is about the third or fourth time. Harold is going to come back onto the field. He wants to be part of this action. The longest final in history, the way it's going. Cars at the front of the field, causing the stoppages. It's the cars right at the tail end. Must be putting an awful lot of pressure. Oh, a little bit of a nudge there, I think, from Timberlake. Tony Grinstead held back a little bit for the start this time. Wants to get the jump on Timberlake. Timberlake gets up close very, very quickly, and all we've got to come of all close passing manoeuvres is Weaver went around the outside of that other car, and I might watch these cars go through this corner, the pit corner this time. They've all got through it, finally, through the pit corner. The two leading cars have broken a little bit clear. Timberlake, Fendick still hangs on in third from Logan, Stewart, and then Reeves, and then Philip Paul, Mark Weaver, Ron Dalton a little further back. Who's gone out wide? That looks like Clark, is it? No, I'm not sure which that car was that went out very, very wide. We'll pick him up as he comes back. Paul, number 12, Philip Paul went out very wide. And what a battle going on between these first two and the next batch. Fendick trying to go down the outside of the car just in front of him. Peter Logue, but in doing so almost allowed Stewart to come to underneath. We've got a couple of phenomenal battles going on, and that car over there, Peter Drew, being passed by a couple on the inside. And look at these two out in front. There's only inches or centimetres, if you like, between the two of them. It's still Tony Grinstead holding down the lead. That Timberlake will not let him get away. The maximum they get is one or two cars between them. And there's the flag being waved at Wilkins. I'm not sure what that's for. But Grinstead, he's trying to hang on to that pole line as close as he can, because he knows that if he moves out wide, Timberlake is going to shoot through. He's got Peter Logue off his tail a bit now. Logue has dropped back about 10 or 15 car lengths. Adam Fendick has attacked, been passed by Steve Stewart. Stewart up there in fourth place. Fendick back in fifth. And that's the Victorian number 1 on the outside, a long way back. He's got a long way to go. Behind Fendick, we've got Mark Weaver. Then we've got Philip Paul. And the Victorian number 1 is Peter Reeves. The leading two cars are going to start to come up behind these small vehicles shortly. And at this stage, it's still a Ballarat driver, Tony Grinstead, and Australia number 1 from Geelong driver, Peter Timberlake. And a little bit more of a gap now. Fendick's actually lost a little bit of ground behind Steve Stewart back there in about fifth place. And Fendick has got a bit of pressure. I think that might be Lionel West who's about to shoot through underneath. Is it West? Can't quite make it up from here. Wilkins still having the flag waved at him. I'll just pick those cars as they go through. 6 is Loeb, Stewart, Fendick, Weaver, Nash. Not Nash, it's Nash's car, of course. Philip Paul. And then the big number 1, Peter Reeves, a little further back. Well, it looks like McEachran's called it a night. 79's pulled out. Harold Brennan, I don't know whether he thought that's where the track Brennan followed him in, but he's pulled into the infield as well. That's 2 cars out. What are they doing? Are they going to pull in on the other side? Let's get back to the leaders, because they must be going to catch up with some of the slower ones shortly. They're going into the Deacon Avenue corner now. Australia number 1 is still out there leading. He seems to have held Timberlake off a little bit better. He's got a bit more of a gap. Timberlake hasn't managed to make any real dangerous passing moves, but just as I say that, Timberlake got the nose up under Grinstead once again. It's been 2 or 3 laps since he did that, but it's still Tony Grinstead, the Australian number 1, leading in the Super Sedan title for Victoria for 1992. Peter Timberlake, he's trying everything to get past him. Back in third place, it's Peter Logan, then Steve Stewart, then Adam Fendick, Mark Weaver, Philip Paul, Peter Reeves, Lionel West, John Rodder, Ron Dalton, Peter Drew, Michael Clark, Cook, Neville Elks, and 55. Wilkins has still been shown that flag, and by the time he comes to the tail enders, the leading car has come past once again with Tony Grinstead leading Peter Timberlake. Well, we've got quite a few laps under our belt now without any interruptions. And there's a slower car on the outside of the track. Let's hope he stays up on the outside of the track as these leaders come past. Still it's Tony Grinstead out in front. We're just waiting for Timberlake to get close enough to make another move. That was Greg Wilkins who's circulating around the outside of the track. There's Mark Weaver, it goes around the outside of Philip Paul. Picked him up just a little, and they've lost it on the same corner. Will these cars see them early enough to miss it? Well, this will bunch the cars up a little bit again, having a lot of trouble on that corner. Those two cars were having a fair battle. Who did I call? Mark Weaver and Philip Paul, I think, were the two, with the passing actions going through the pit corner. And they got tangled up just a little. 12, Philip Paul to the rear of the field. Well, this will bunch them up and put a bit more pressure on those leading two cars. Grinstead seems to have got the race under his control after those first half a dozen or so laps. Timberlake just hanging in, waiting for a mistake by Grinstead, but Tony Grinstead doesn't make many mistakes. There seems to be just a little bit of a wobble on the back wheel. Maybe that's just the tyre. Looks like Philip Paul didn't like that idea, but who have we got up there? Grinstead, Timberlake, I think it's still Logue, then Stewart, then Fendick. Didn't catch them all as they went past. Cook and Neville Else going past now. Michael Clark just in front of them. 17 laps gone. That's around about halfway. So we've got a lot of racing left yet. Tony Grinstead has to hold it all together a little bit longer. We've renewed that to 18 laps down. Righto, Grinstead, Timberlake, Logue, Stewart, who got past Fendick a while ago and has held him out since then Fendick, then Weaver, Peter Reeves, Lionel West, 46, John Rodder, Ron Delton, Peter Drew, Michael Clark, Gary Cook, Neville Else, Wilkins, and at the rear of the field, Philip Paul, and I don't know that he's real happy about being back there. I'd hate to be trying to be Chief Steward with this many cars over this many laps. They spread out so much it's almost impossible to see everything that's going on. And we will get the green flag once again, and by geez, Timberlake is right up on Tony Grinstead that time, right on his tail as they took off, and it's still Logue and then Stewart and then Fendick, and who we go to see try and make some passing manoeuvres. We'll keep an eye on the rest of the field, but Fendick is not that far behind the leaders now as he closes up behind Steve Stewart. Oh, and Stewart going up on the inside of Logue, looking for a little bit of a sideways move from Logue to go through underneath, and Logue is hanging out fairly wide. He's got the nose in front, hey Stewart, and if he gets through, I think Fendick will go through with him. No, Peter Logue putting the foot down going into the Deacon Avenue corner, was able to hold Stewart out, so Peter Logue still in third place, Steve Stewart, then Adam Fendick, and those leading cars, in fact, are opening up a little bit of a lead once again. They're obviously a little bit quicker than the others. They've opened up quite a good lead, so we've got the battle going on for first and second, and once again that other car circulating around the outside of the track. Tony Grinstead, Timberlake, Peter Logue, Steve Stewart, Adam Fendick, Mark Weaver, and then we're a little way back, and look at the battle between Stewart and Logue, and Stewart's lost a little bit of ground then, as I think he may even have nudged the back of Peter Logue's car. Fendick sitting there waiting for a chance to go through. They've got to be right on their tail. If one of these cars does make a mistake, it's no good being a couple of car lengths behind because you can't take advantage of it. They're all very, very quick. They're all fairly even in power. There's a little bit of luck, and there's a passing manoeuvre as John Rodder goes through underneath. I think that was Lionel West. He's moved up one position. We haven't had terribly many passes since the race got underway from Wilkins still circulating around the outside. Tony Grinstead, the favourite right from the start of the meeting, is still managing to hold out Peter Timberlake from Geelong. There's 3 or 4 car lengths between the two. Peter Logue trying to close up that gap with Adam Fendick a little further back, and just behind him Steve Stewart, in there. Mark Weaver, John Rodder, who picked up a position from Lionel West. And that car circulating the outside of the track could create a problem if he's in the wrong place at the wrong time. The leading 2 cars through the Deacon Avenue corner again. And there's a fair bit of pace on there. I wouldn't mind letting the lap record goes down again. Laps to go are 10. See on the sign. Oh, and there's bits of cars flying off everywhere as, who was that went past and Steve? That was Peter Reeves, sorry, the Victorian #1 and Ron Dalton, who clashed on the corner or coming out of the corner, and bits of flying cars all over the place. The leaders haven't changed. In fact, the first 4, 5, 6 positions haven't changed. And look at West, Lionel West, trying to get past John Rodder. He's got the nose right up inside. They're a long way back in the field, but they're still racing as if they were out in front. Rodder manages to hang on. Leading car still not changed. It's still Tony Grinstead from Peter Timberlake. Peter Logue, Steve Stewart, Adam Fendick, Mark Weaver, John Rodder, Lionel West, Peter Reeves with half his car missing. Dalton, Drew, Clark, Cook, Elks. And at the rear of the field where he was put before is Philip Paul. Well, I think Grinstead seems to have it all and he's taking now unless something goes wrong. Timberlake hasn't been able to get up and make a real challenge for that first position for quite some time now. In fact, he's opened up a good little lead there of 4 or 5 car lengths. If he can keep him that far out, he can afford to make just that little bit of a mistake and get away with it. The way the racing was earlier, he couldn't do it. And look at Stewart coming up on the inside of Peter Logue. He can get the nose up beside him, but can't pick up the position. Where did Fendick come from? We lost Fendick somewhere. I didn't see it, so he's dropped himself a couple of positions. Took a short cut. That's put Fendick probably out of contention for any chance. He's back behind Lionel West now as the leading cars go past. We've got a real battle for third and fourth place here between Peter Logue and Steve Stewart and Adelaide. So the main battles are first and second, and then third and fourth. The other cars in the minor placings are all pretty much out of it now. They've spread themselves out a fair way. I think Tony Grinstead is going to continue on to take out the title for 1992. Can't be too many laps left to go. Peter Timberlake, what a fantastic effort, but not quite able to get past. In fact, he did pass Grinstead very early in the race in the first couple of laps, only to be retaken again by Grinstead. It looks like Peter Drew was pulled out of the race as well on the far side. Tony Grinstead still leading from Peter Timberlake, and we've still got this battle going between Stewart and Peter Logue, and Stewart cannot quite make it. He can get up level as they come out of the Deagon Avenue corner past the broadcast box, but then Logue has that extra power to get out of his way and take the lead again. Let's have a look at how they come out of the corner this time. Oh, Stewart definitely comes out of that corner much quicker than Peter Logue, but he can't maintain it to go into the next corner in the same position. So Stewart will follow Logue now. We've got some interest. Oh, right up the tail of Philip Paul. This will make it interesting. 1 lap left to go, and that slower car going to cause some problems. In fact, that slower car is one that really pushed Grinstead early in the night. A little less than a lap to go. That almost gave Peter Timberlake the chance that he needed. There's a couple more cars. May get in the way and slow them down as Tony Grinstead comes around to take the checkered flag. Will he do it? Yes, Tony Grinstead from Ballarat, Australian number 1. Now the Victorian number 1. Peter Timberlake. Then it's next up there. Peter Logue, Steve Stewart, Mark Weaver, John Rodder, Lionel West, Adam Fendick dropped the fairway back. Peter Reeves, Ron Dalton. That's the finishing order. Then we've got Michael Clark, Gary Cook, Kevin Elts from Horsham. And are these cars still finishing? There's our leading car again. And yes, the first and second cars going across now. Well, perhaps we can take a breath. We had a few stoppages for the first half dozen or so laps, but boy, did they make up for it afterwards. Those leading.
I'd like to thank the Mildura Speedway Club for putting on the event, Victorian Speedway Council. I would like to congratulate all the other place givers, Tony for pulling off the win, and I'd like to thank my family, Dad, Andy, and Ross and the crew. Thanks.
Thanks, Grant. Well done. 5th place, Mark Weaver.
Thanks very much. I'd like to thank Mildura Speedway Club and all the people associated with this. I've really got to thank Fun City Go-Kart. It's their car. The clutch is slipping like you wouldn't believe. It was in the last seat. There was just nothing we could do about it. I'd like to congratulate all the other place getters and the winners. It was a hard-fought race, and I'll be back again. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Mark. Well done. 4th place, Steve Stewart.
Thank you. Done really well, didn't you?
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to race here. Last year was nearly my last year, so this is a real bonus, mate. Hopefully we can scrub up and do as good in our own next Friday night, our own state title. I would like to congratulate Tony, he's just so good. Peter's back again. And other Peter, it's good to see him. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. 3rd place, Peter Lowe. Well done, Peter.
Lift that on. And congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thanks very much.
We had a good weekend.
games. He puts in a lot of effort to surface landings. And of course, I want to thank the crew for helping me again this weekend. And we've just had a good time. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Peter. Second place, Peter Timberlake.
Congratulations, Peter. You rode really well. You did.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for that. I'd like to congratulate Tony on his fine drive. He and I have sort of been at that for 24 odd years. We sort of done that so many times before, but I just never been able to get past him. But anyway, that was a really good, clean race, which was good. Congratulations also to Peter Logan and the rest of the place gitters. Thanks to the club for put it on. I was pretty surprised the track went off as early as it did, but we all anticipated that and had the correct setup on it. Thanks to John Nicoli, who owns the car. He's purchased that car, a South Australian car, and top car around, I believe. Thanks to the crew, which consists of my sons and the sponsors, Baxter Racing Enterprises, Racing Products and Manufacturing, John Wills from Fiberglass, IPTA. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Peter. In first place, touring pole vault this year is Tony Grimshead.
Love putting these on you, Tony. Good on you.
Congratulations. Thanks very much.
I don't know what to say. That was probably one of the hardest races I've ever had. The only way you could go faster there was to go slow, and that's what I had to do. And congratulations to Peter and other place getters, and all the drivers out there. The lap cars were good. I thought it might have been a bit of a problem. I didn't really want to catch them, but they really done the job well. And the VSC, I'd like to thank them for putting on the event, and Mildura, the sponsors of the car, Caltex Love Plenty, Pennzoil, Doncal, and all the others, Baghdad, Graham Monson down Gippsland Way, he looks after me, and just all the others. And I'd like a special thanks to Gary Hepper, he builds the motor, and I don't know how he builds it so strong because I ripped the dinger out of it. I'd like to thank him very much. I'd like to thank the pit crew, Gail, my daughter, and Darryl and Dad, and the other ones that aren't here tonight. So I'd like to thank them because I'll probably buy them a video, I'd say. And I'd like to thank Steve for helping us out in the pits. I've given Mackenzie's crew, he done a terrific job. Thanks very much to you, Steve. And I just really like to thank the pit crew. Without them, you don't go anywhere in racing. It's a shame the track went like it did, but we all had to race on it, and I was lucky to be in the front, but I wouldn't have liked to be second or third. That's wherever you started, that's where you're going to finish. And thanks very much to Mildura.
Well, that's the end of the titles this year and the presentation. Once again, thanks Mildura, and we'll hand back to the house.
Possible. on pole.
19